Peace family, welcome back for our next lesson in the business course of our RBCs. We're going to be focusing on customer service. And the objective of this lesson is to teach you all the best practices for your organization to implement as customer service and customer retention strategies. All right, and so I want to use that word retention because when it comes to customer service, what is it about is two things. Customer service, right, is our goal. Let me switch up markers here. You guys are burning me out. Customer service is our goal and our objective and our strategy, right? Our way. This is our vehicle to create the best customer experience and, right, so there's a selfish side and an unselfish side. The unselfish side as a business owner is to create the best customer experience. Listen, when I use that word value add, I'm not throwing it around lightly. I mean, I really mean the success. The way you make the millions is by consistently adding value. When you add value, customers will come back. When you add value to even your staff, they won't leave. When you add value to the world, the universe will reward you. It will open its doors up to you. Always have a spirit of servitude, always have a spirit of giving and adding value, right? So we add value to give the best customer experience that we can. And then we want to make sure that also from a quote unquote selfish perspective as a business owner, we want to make sure we retain these customers and we have the best and most effective customer retention, right? So for us to be able to ensure the best customer service, every single business is going to be different, whether your business is a brick and mortar, whether it's online, whether it's a combination of both. But some of the key points that we have to make sure are effective within our operations is that the ease of communication is one big thing, right? How do your customers actually communicate with your corporation, with your company, with your team, with your staff, with you? What's that ease of communication? So I mean ease of communication, I'm talking about vehicles. So is it an online chat, right? On your website, is there a way they can simply type in right there where there's a live online chat? Now, is that online chat, you want to even have another marker? Is that going to be your staff or is it going to be outsourced? And that's going to be two of the biggest questions you have to ask yourself as the chief facilitator, the chief executive officer, the maestro, the organizer, the developer, right? The quarterback, the point guard, is you got to ask yourself, do I want my customer service team based on my budget, based on my experience, based on my type of business? Do I want this to be an in-house operation? Or do I want this to be an external or outhouse operation or outsourced, we call it, right? That's just not your online chat. That's also your teleconference, etc. So your telecommunications, etc. So this ease of communications, is it an online chat? Is that staff, is it in-house staff? Is external staff in-house or outsourced? Now, outside of that, you also want to ask yourself, because one of the common things you'll find in customer service, especially on the online chat side or on the outsourced side, is this going to be somewhere that's happening in the US or is it international? Now, international pricing usually is better, but sometimes international communications can sometimes offer some hiccups. And you may see less of it in the online space as you will then when it comes into your telecommunications, right? And that's just communicating via phone, right? And so again, you want to ask yourself again, is it going to be an internal thing for staff? Is this going to be external? And is it going to be local or is it going to be an international outsourced operation? Because that makes a big difference when you talk about your customer and their ability to relate or relay messaging through these particular channels, right? And so the ease of communication is going to be one big part of that customer experience. And then some of the best practices. That's all we're going to be talking about today is some of the best practices. I'm going to share with you some of the best practices that our team operates within here at JMA. And again, that goal being the best experience and the best retention. And so when we get into the experience piece, one point that we want to note, and I'm going to go over with you some of our JMA notes and going to give you our flow chart, right, that our team has written down, and I'll come back to some of this. So in the customer service space, right, what happens is, and this is from our call perspective, and we have both the call and the digital perspective. So what happens is for our team is that there's, at some point, an incoming call comes in, right? And then from that incoming call, hopefully it was received by someone, and then there is a greeting. From that greeting, we have, again, there's scripts for all of this stuff, and that's what you're going to have to do with your company. We're going to talk about that in a couple short lessons. Is that processed? From your greeting, our team is then instructed to gather information, right, on the caller's needs. What are their concerns? Is it something that what department do they need to speak to, right? All that. And then from gathering the information, right? So, before we even get into those needs, we're going to gather information. We're going to gather their name, right? So remember we talked about that. Getting their name, their email, right? Their data. That's one of the first things we do, right? We get the data. Then we get into their needs and the reason for calling, right? Now we're going to find out what's going on and how can we help you. Once this is digested and processed by our customer service team, and these are things, again, that you can take and morph some of this for your own organization. I just want to give you some best practice. Is once it goes from the reason for the call, typically the call is then transferred or before transfer, placed on hold as we look to remedy the situation. And while it's on hold, what our team does, and that's why I'm glad I taught you guys about that CRM list, our team goes into our database, uses their information, and does a CRM research on the account, right? Especially if this is an existing customer. If it's already established that it's not, it will be handled based on the needs of the customer. If it's already a pre-existing customer, we search our database so that we can see if there are any notes that talk about the customer calling in at a previous time. If it's their first time calling in, what level of product or service have they been engaged with us? How long have they been with us, right? All these things would give our customer service representative some contact, and we'll give yours the same, which is so important to, again, keep data, keep a customer relationships management system, and keep that up to date and constantly input and take notes on it. All right. So after they do their research, our team then goes into advise or resolve the issue. Right? And then from advising and resolving the issue, again, it goes back into the same formula to note the account of what transpired today, right? And from there, they end call. Obviously, if they couldn't advise or resolve the issue themselves, this would then get triggered to, right, some type of lead on the team or executive. Or the customer we take their information, our customer service rep will speak to a lead later on, and then they'll call that customer back based on how it was resolved, right? And so we use this flow chart, again, for some of our training, and we're going to get into that later. But so that the expectations are set of regards to what we want for our customers, but what we do to help maintain and hold accountability for the best customer experience and the best customer retention within our organization. All of our calls are monitored. outside our calls being monitored just for, quality assurance or what's being said, we're also timing our calls. We're looking at, and we're going to talk about tracking and analytics a little later on, but we time our calls to see how long is the average customer service call happening. We look at, the data of, how many missed calls do we have, right? How many voicemails are we receiving? And we make sure that we are trying our very, very best to give our customers the most expedited service, the best efficient service, and the best experience possible when they're calling in with any potential concerns. And then as leadership, we're constantly looking at this data, and then we're making decisions based on this data. And, again, this helps us to, as that experience is greater, this helps us to help more customers, especially when there's issues with existing customers who've already paid. You want to make sure they're serviced well so you can retain them and hopefully keep them as a customer for future products, services, and goods as you move forward, right? And so this is kind of how we approach it from a telephone perspective or telecommunications. And then there are some digital and online chat rooms and platforms you can use for your customer service as well, which happens much, much simpler. And we have messaging on our websites where you get an incoming message. From that incoming message, we do the same thing. We gather information. And it's all about doing discovery. It's all about, obviously, taking as much information as possible on the problem. Then they research to see how they can be of help. And this is outsourced for us. They're trained on researching the account. Oh, excuse me, not research, reason, for their need for help. Then we research the account based on whatever account issue they may be having. We then advise or resolve. And at that point, again, we always go back to notating the account. So whether someone came in online or through our telecommunications, we're able to track what their needs were. And if our call team takes and feels this person 2 weeks later, they're able to see this person also use our chat room to be able to contact us and to present whatever problems or whatever they needed at the same time. The big goal for us and me, and why as an instructor and the leader of this curriculum, why I want to bring up customer service is because this is where we see a lot of businesses fail, because you spend so much time on marketing, promoting, and branding and selling and making money, then you forget about your customer from the point that they were indoctrinated into your business and they actually invested into you and your dream and your business and the service and good you're offering. And we don't think about enough time of their experience post-sale, right? That's the biggest part, is still treating that customer like the person they were before they spent money with you, and making sure that we're ensuring the best experience and really focusing time on us, again, training our teams. So it's a function of training. It's a function of having the right personnel. Not everybody is meant for customer service. It's a function of your scripts, really taking time and writing out the best call script or even online script. It's a function of your customer relation management systems and documenting and notating accounts and being clear with your records. It's a function of accountability and standards. A lot of times, and depending on your demographic, you're going to get a lot of pushback from customers. You may get customers that are going to tell you off, curse you out, call you everything in the book, but your staff still has to represent your organization and you the right way And that's to be able to be patient with customers, be able to empathize with customers, be able to resolve and dispute issues, be able to put out fires, right? Customer service is, and your call team, your secretaries, your admins are going to be a critical part of your business staying reputable, staying profitable, having that strong and professional reputation, especially if you come from someone, if you come from an environment or from a background that is abnormal or not what they're used to seeing in business. You're going to be scrutinized. Your professionalism is going to be judged by your entire organization, but especially by the treatment of your customers and your team. Now, outside of just incoming and inbound customer service, a lot of times there are customer service opportunities and customer service focuses we need to address that are at places like our events, right? So there's also event customer service. Now, one of the big things about event customer service is that, and this is where, again, perception is so key, where branding is so key, where consistency is so key. You have to, and when it's face-to-face and belly-to-belly, as we call it, and it's event customer service, you have to look at the appearance of your team, right? Their appearance and how they represent you and the company, on top of being just a good phone voice or a good problem solver, etc. So when you're having events or initiatives and your team is out and about, people are going to be fielding customers. They're going to be, talking to people, solving problems, helping to seat them, helping them with different merchandise they may want, or whatever the case is. You got to make sure everybody is representing you well. Make sure everybody's appearance is consistent, right, and matches your brand and your brand standards, and your brand look, your brand feel, your brand, all that. And also from an event standpoint, you have to make sure, in all standpoints, that you are going above and beyond, and we're really valuing our customers for who they are. Because if if you don't have customers, there is no revenue for the business. The business doesn't make money. I don't care if it's a business-to-business customer, a business-to-consumer customer. So you've really got to, in all aspects, make sure your team appreciates that these are the people that help pay your salary, that help pay all of our bills and keep the lights on. So there must be a value, right, for our customers. Many times you may get hostile people who may disrespect your staff or team, and so it's a very delicate line as a business owner to make sure that your team is respected as well, your staff, and they are represented. People cannot walk all over them and dog them out, but you also have to understand that we have professional lines and that we have to play and that we have to maneuver as the entrepreneurs and as the organization that our customers are engaging. Another important part to customer service, which is going to tie into a little bit of our process, procedures, protocols, and some of our automation, is the clearer that you can automate or lay out your terms and conditions for your products and services, the easier you make things on your customer service team. So you have to ask yourself, what is our refund or return policy? Right? You want to find out, hey, what's our policies there, and what's our refund and return policy in different products, services, and goods. It may be different in each one, right? How do we look at each product, service, or good, and what are refund, return, or guarantees, or our customer satisfaction? What are those policies? These are things you want to establish earlier, right? So any customer satisfaction policies. Another big thing is order fulfillment. Right, which will go into our processes. Your customer service team is going to feel the brunt of any lack of order fulfillment or the sales or marketing team or deliverable team not meeting what has been marketed or promoted. A big piece that we found in our organization that will help you all is you have to make sure that marketing and sales, right? They have to speak to your customer service team. One brunt that we've seen is that, and one, again, practice that we want to add to, we have added to our organization, I want to share with you all, is if you are doing marketing promotions, value adds, discounts, or whatever it is, and your customer service or new products, right? So if you got discounts happening, value adds, any kind of promotions, new products, right? Or services, initiatives, events, and these things are not being relayed to your customer service team, and you have people calling in to ask questions about these new products, service, initiatives, goods, events, and your customer service team is being blindsided. One, it's going to create a bad customer experience because you're going to look unprofessional, unprepared. Your customer service team is not going to have the collateral they need to be successful, and you're going to miss out on revenue opportunities because they can't close anyone out or they can't make the picture even clearer based on, right, these opportunities, based on this lack of communication, excuse me. So when we go back to terms and conditions and things we can do to ease the brunt and the flow and the pain, another thing that we can always do to help our team is create frequently asked questions, right? FAQs. It's a living, breathing document or questions. And these are, and this is where some data comes into place, is having meetings or having your customer service team write down, right? This is how you do it. Whoever's doing the most interfacing with your customer, right? The most engaging with your customer. You want to have your customer service team write down what are the frequently asked questions, right? Happening from our customer to us. You might start off with some that your team creates based off just common sense or logic, but you eventually create a list on your website, right? It also can be on your online portal or wherever, and this list will also be accessible to your customer service of frequently asked questions so your team can instantly get to the answers. But secondly, you can literally eliminate maybe 50 or more % of the type of influx of calls or online requests that you get for your business because the questions are already answered because you know what people are frequently asking when they see your company, your product, your service, your initiative, your good, etc. Right? So doing that cuts out on the amount of staff you need, the amount of customer service hours, especially if you're outsourcing and you're paying by the hour. It cuts out on those costs, which means you're cutting out on expenses. That means you're making more profit and more revenue. So there's things that you can do, small little tweaks you can make to your business to ensure that this is being met. Now, another thing is that outside of the online and the general, this is events. We talked about online and we talked about calls, right? These are different functions. Another piece, this is more from our messenger section on our website where you can directly chat. But another thing I don't want us to forget is on most of our websites, you should have a contact us form, right? Or page. And it's simply a page where folks can put their name, info, or message, right? A longer box for a message. Put this on your site. Again, you want to have the most ease of communication in every channel, in every way that you can. And you want to make sure you have someone in customer service assigned or that this message and email automatically goes to one of your top customer service reps. Right? It can simply forward an email or it goes to your general info email if you have an info@yourcompany.com. But you want to make sure that all call channels as often as possible are being met. Another best practice for your leadership or executives in your firm is on the call side, even on the chat side as well, right? I'm asterisking it as a best practice. Do mock in test calls. I would do this pretty often, where you call from a blocked number, you call from a random phone from a family member or a friend, or a number your team doesn't see, and you have someone call in front of you, and you literally give your customer service team all different scenarios, right? The hostile client, the aloof client, the one who didn't read the website, the one that's hype and wants to spend products, all that kind of stuff, even curse them out, and really test and see how your customer service team handles different kinds of controversy, different types of customers, and how they respond. And see how, if it gets back to you, see if your leadership handles it, right? I would do the same thing through messaging, see if those messages get responded back to. I would do the same thing through the contact form. You gotta have some kind of accountability and measurables for your team to make sure they're performing at your standard. As the chief maestro, as the chief executive officer, facilitator, organizer, developer, quarterback, right, point guard, you are not gonna be able to be present at all times of your business. You have to rely on your customer service team and your leadership team, etc. Those who are most interfacing with your clients, you have to rely on them to represent you and your brand well. I remember in our organization, I got wind through the grapevine that someone hung up on one of our clients. Now, mind you, they were being a very hostile and difficult client. They didn't want to, they were committed to misunderstanding, and they didn't want to, whatever, and they were using bad language. But by no means in our organization will I ever accept or tolerate someone hanging up on a client. Now, if you need to disconnect with someone or connecting with someone different, there's a professional way to do so. Excuse me, sir or ma'am. I believe we're no longer getting anywhere with this call. It's becoming hostile, or it's becoming, I won't say advantageous, but it's coming adverse. And so could I please forward you to someone else? Or is there another time that you could call back, or I'm gonna have someone call you back? They're still giving you grief, and still giving you a headache. All right, excuse me, sir, ma'am. I'm going to have to relinquish this call now. I'm gonna have to hang up. We do appreciate you as a customer, but I see that we are hitting a brick wall or crossroads. And so I'm gonna have one of our top customer service specialists or client relations specialists or executive reach back out to you, so hopefully they can do a better job of resolving this. Please pardon me. I'm going to be hanging up the phone now, as I can no longer serve you. That's the kind of tone, at least, you want to have in a hang up, not a I'm offended by what you're saying right now, I'm in my feelings, and click, like this is your girlfriend or ex that's calling you, and they didn't appreciate what you posted on Instagram last night. You have to, again, hold your team to a higher level of accountability, but a big part of that is how you train, right? So all these practices, all these systems, all these expectations and accountability are going to be based on what you set the bar as, or if you're not an expert at it, where your HR, where your operations management, your president, your pod leader, where they set the bar at, and where you enforce, or you empower them to enforce, and create the kind of trainings that you need to be able to bring on the kind of staff that you need. And a lot of that's going to be based on how you recruit, how you staff. Again, what we covered, your interviewing process, checking those references, vetting, screening, and making sure you have the right, adequate people in your organization. Especially, now it's different when it's marketing, and again, that's important, but you can see someone's marketing skill level. If you don't like it, you can move it around, you can tweak it, you can hire, fire, etc., but they're not directly dealing with the client. The unfortunate part, especially in the age of social media, is that you could have 1,000 positive comments, and 2 people could say one negative thing, and it speaks way more volume than the 998 comments or the 1,000 that you had that were positive. So we want to certainly limit. We can't avoid, what we call weirdos, and they are out there. I mean, this is a big world, and there's some weird people. So you can't avoid all the weirdos, but you certainly can minimize your exposure, mitigate your reputational infractions, and just, if you are having an issue, do what you can to put a fire out immediately to resolve it if it's not costing you much. You want to weigh those, again, those reputational and collateral and risk. Word of mouth carries fast, and we want it to be a positive word of mouth about our organization, about our professionalism, about our staff and who we have representing us. And so again, these are just some of the best practices that I want you guys to carry forward in customer service. You know, whether it's on the incoming call side, the external call side, whether it be through your contact list, or however you're operating, or your belly-to-belly customer service, make sure it's at a grade A level that represents you and your organization well. See you next lesson.